Welcome back to another Build Public update. Let's jump right into it. For Swiftbrief, or SEO outline generator, we have created a productized service offer that has been posted on Twitter as a test. Basically, we had pricing starting at $19, going all the way up to $4.99. Right now, we're sitting at $199 with one order left to be fulfilled. So basically, every three purchases, we would go up with the price, just to make sure that we both don't get overrun, but also to get closer to the goal of what the service is actually worth. Normally, this will be much more expensive. The prices can vary from $500 to $3,000, depending on how in-depth the roadmap will be. And yeah, we're offering it for $199 right now. Overall, it has been a success for us, I would say. Both in building momentum and getting more people to check out Swiftbrief, and obviously learning a lot about our not necessarily target customer, more geared towards agencies, but it was great to learn more from SEO beginners and people not too familiar with SEO, how the product is perceived by them, and to just make it less scary for beginners, I would say. And I think why we did this is basically to learn, but also to kind of subsidize product cash flow with short-term cash flow by kind of bolting a service on top of the product. So we are using the product with basically our kind of SEO knowledge. We're using the product in the way it should be used, to create a roadmap that then is handed over to the person we're on a call with and who we're building the roadmap for. And they can then continue to build it out or just build out briefs and produce content. And basically makes it super easy to get started, as we're kind of removing the friction of kind of coming up and going from a blank slate to a finished roadmap, which has turned out to be more challenging for beginners than we initially thought. Right. Then I've drafted up a strategy document. I think within the company, as we have grown a bit more, the strategy was just kind of captured in my head, or also in one of the co-founders' head, and was never really brought to paper. So I'm following a guide from Smart Bear, which is Jason Cohen, I believe. So he has great frameworks or just great content around building up a strategy. And I took a stab at this in order to align everyone, because a lot of the strategy and positioning has to do with the pricing and has to do with like, kind of who we're actually going after and who we're trying, like excluding by going after a certain kind of user. And yeah, it's just been more and more important to align everyone on this and to kind of, get the point across what we're actually trying to achieve. So this has been a great exercise, but also a great asset to just get everyone aligned. Right. For Maid of Speeches, or Maid of Honor, or wedding speech generator, we have continued to do some work on the product. I've created some experiments that I think will basically help us up the conversion rate. So basically what I've tried is to estimate the next 12 months revenue that I think would be unlocked if we were to implement this, and also the effort on a kind of Fermi scale. This is also from a Smart Bear, who recommends that for ROI calculation. And so basically we have only, let's say 10, 100, 1,000, 5,000 kind of multiples of 10 or multiples of 5 here in this case, just because we don't have that much revenue overall, so that it, I didn't want to do like only 1,000 and 10,000. So this is like reasonable enough, I would say. And then we have like 2 days, 10 days, and 2 months, which is 40 days, right? In terms of like working days, if you have five days a week. And so that is an estimate for ROI, so that we can kind of sort these by what we perceive to be the return. And this has been really helpful to make sure we're building the right thing. And I'll follow up with you if that is actually also what happens, because as I said, this is just an experiment and a guess, right? And then a bit more detail about one of those experiments. So right now, which is actually interesting, I found that in the data, we have a bunch of people that have created two conversations. Why does this happen? It's because we don't actually save the conversation as of right now. There's no login in the tool, so it basically just gets created, and then if you come back to the tool itself, you can retrieve the conversation, but only if you save the link somewhere. And if you come back to the landing page and you press the button again, you will basically end up with a new conversation. So, and what I've seen in the data is that even though it's like a pain in the ass, we have almost 7% that came back twice and created two conversations, and then still ended up buying, which I think is quite interesting. And if we look at users with two or more sessions, so not just like looking at two conversations, because if I want to measure this, right? So what I want to do is I want to save conversation ID to local storage. And then the next time you come back, at least if you're on the same browser or if you're on the same device, I'll pull up the old conversation and load that for you, and then you can continue, which should increase conversion if people come back and get to pick up where they left off, unless they were just testing. So for that case, I have a button at the top that will allow you to create a new conversation. But basically, the idea is that obviously coming back and not having to do the work again should help raise conversion in this case. And to measure this, because this is going to go away, right? Like I can't measure two conversations created, because you're not going to create a second conversation if everything goes right. So if you want to create a new one, yes, but if you come back and you just continue, then obviously I can't measure that. So I looked at people with two or more sessions, right, which are 339, and there we have 6 purchases. The number here being lower is, I think, because Amplitude, if you come back within like an hour or I don't know 6 hours or something, there's like a session timeout. It counts it as the same session. So then not everyone that has created two conversations actually has two sessions. But this is the kind of baseline that I'm gonna measure against. And here I have just like a short overview of statistical significance. So to make sure we're actually getting the right kind of values, even though at the scale we're at, um, this is most likely going to be only a double in conversation rate would be statistically significant at the scale we're at. But yeah, just trying to make sure it's not any worse because I think it will be hard to actually measure. It's just to get into the habit and yeah, keep running these experiments. All right. So for you, takeaway here, I think, as I said in the beginning, a productized service offer on top of your SaaS can just be a great way to subsidize your development cost and your salary or whatever you're paying yourself out of your company, with a short-term cash flow component, which is a service business, a productized service, which is less scalable, obviously, right? But it incurs less upfront cost in terms of like ramp up. You can start very fast. We did it within, I think, a day. I set up the landing page and then we started collecting payments. And so this is much, much faster, less scalable. But in the beginning, it helps you to learn about your customer, to get feedback, to create some awareness, because people love these kind of deal things, and to, yeah, just get the word out. So it both solves awareness and also cash flow. All right, this is it. If any of that stuff sounds interesting to you, feel free to subscribe below, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.